Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's class. I'm Sam, owner of Sam's Bead Shop. We're streaming today on the Facebook page and on the YouTube channel, so say hi if you're here. I'm so excited to welcome Danielle Wickes. I'll add you now, Danielle.
Hi, Sam.
How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Very excited to learn this technique from you today. You were saying that you think this is maybe one of the more advanced in this series?
Well, just compared to the last classes, but I still think it's beginner friendly and totally doable.
Awesome. I'll let you introduce the project a bit.
Sure, yeah. So the original sample it's just a square knotted macrame bracelet, but it's made with number 6 silk cord. And the great thing about the silk is I was able to get all of these beautiful check beads through it. And just for the same reason that having a needle on the end of the silk makes knotting easier, it also makes it easier to create a really nice macrame piece. The disadvantages are that it's very tiny. So even though you can get a really beautiful result, it takes a lot of time, and it'll be easier to see the step-by-step of what I'm going to show you with a larger cord. So for class today, just as far as what order to take things in, I was thinking demo with the cord. So this is a version made with Blue Tiger's Eye on a 0.8 millimeter Chinese knotting cord.
Oh, beautiful.
So we could start with a demo that's in a bright color, large cord, easy to see, and then move along to the silk. And I have some stuff that we can jump ahead. We don't have to watch me do 9 sets of square knots. And
awesome. All right, take it away then. That looks great.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to switch my camera so you guys can see what I have on my mat. And so shown here, it's just coming into focus. The first 2 here are silk knotted with number 6. And then this was made on knotting cord. And it's a 0.8 millimeter. And so the process for making these is exactly the same. The only difference is on the silk, you'll have a needle to work with. And on the knotting cord, you don't have a needle, and there's some limitation as to what beads will fit. But other than that, step by step, exact same steps. But I'm hoping to cover it with both cords. I'm going to start with the knotting cord version. So the first thing you'll be wondering is, how much cord do I need to cut? Well, so depending on what surface you're using, I'm using a clipboard. And my clipboard's your standard clipboard size. If you're using something larger or smaller, you'll need to adjust this measurement to fit your board. The reason is we're going to be using some clips, and we want to be able to have something to clip to. So you'll need to make your cord at least long enough to reach the bottom of your board. So for me, what that looks like is, in fact, I think just for a minute, I'm going to switch back to my other camera. I want you guys to be able to see the board. Okay, so I'm back. So this is my board. This is my cord. If this was a different size, I would need to cut different lengths. But for me, I'm going to cut one that will reach the bottom. So I want my first end to connect with the bottom of my clipboard. And I'm going to pin it there. I'm going to go under the clipboard of the cord and then bring it back down the front side. So I want it to be long enough to do that. And I'm going to leave a little extra length on this side. When you're setting this up with a silk card, the setup is a little bit different in that you won't want to cut the needle off your card. So this end will be very long. It'll be the end with your needle on it. And I'll talk about that when we set that one up. But I'm switching back to my other camera now. Okay, and so that piece I just cut, leaving it a little longer on this side. I'm going to pin it under the top of my clipboard, just like that. So this is the short side, and this is the long side. We don't need to worry about this side just yet. I'm pushing it up out of the way. I left it long for for the reason of making the next step easier. And I'll explain that when we get there. But for now, just pushing that out of the way.
Danielle?
Yeah.
I think we lost focus just for a second on the overhead. Are you able to reset the focus?
Yeah, you're right. It did. It went out. Let's see if we can fix it. Did it go better?
Perfect.
Yay.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, so this is the long one, and if this was our silk knotting cord, this would be the strand with my needle on it. It'd be the really long one, and this would be the one that's just the length of our clipboard. And we're just setting it aside up there. At the bottom of my clipboard, what I'm doing here is I'm clipping it pretty tightly to the bottom. So anything will do. If you're any quilters out there, if you have a wonder clip, those are brilliant for this. But a binder clip's great too. Occasionally I have to tighten it, but that's what's holding it in place at the bottom. Okay, so cord number 2. I'm going to use a different color. Is this nice, or would you guys prefer the purple dip? I'm feeling like there's more contrast here.
Well, the contrast on the yellow is really nice.
Is that good? Okay.
I also just like that color.
I love it too. It's perfect, like happy spring color. And so I'm feeling like it'll be easier to see contrasted against. You can tell the cords apart. So the length for this, on the silk cord projects, I used the entire card, quite nearly the entire card, which is about 78 inches when I was doing our bracelets. And the bracelets they range in size from 6 1/4 to 7. This one is 7, and I use down to the very end. So following that same rule of thumb, larger cord, you can get away with a little less, but I'm probably going to cut about 70 inches of this to make a whole 7-inch bracelet. So that's 70 inches of the cord we're going to use for the knotting.
And the first cord was shorter, just about the length of your clipboard.
Yeah, and I can provide dimensions for that, but I was worried that they'd be different for everybody. The length of my clipboard is about 13 inches high. So I cut enough to go up and back down the clipboard, plus a little bit extra.
Awesome.
And if this was your silk knotting cord, you wouldn't cut it at all. What you would do is you would take the end, with the end that doesn't have the needle, clip it to the bottom, run up under here, clip it here, and then run it all the way back down, and then just let that side of the needle just hang. And it'll be super long. But you'll be able to use it again for another bracelet, because we don't end up using all of it, all of the card that gets put on the board. You will use all of the card we use for this step though. And so I just cut 70 inches of this cord. And I'm going to find the midpoint by bringing the tails together. So here's my tails. We'll bring those together. And let's just keep traveling all the way to the end. Here's my midpoint. I'm just going to put this midpoint under here. And then it doesn't matter which side, but choose one and just pull it all the way through. So now we know we roughly have our midpoint here. And I'm going to grab a tape measure. So we're going to be using, in the first step, we're going to be using this side of the cord. And we're going to use more of it than this side. And every time I've done this, it's ended up being about 4 inches. So what I do is I just measure 4 inches from here, right? I'm going to pinch the cord here. And this isn't mission critical. You could just go with the center point and it would work fine, especially if you cut extra cord. But if you're looking to conserve your cord, I just saved 4 inches there. And then when I get done with this step, my 2 sides will be the same length. So I'll bring that down so you guys can see it. Sorry about that. Okay. So this is my longer side. I moved 4 inches from here over to here from what was the center point. And this is what's called a hitch knot. It took me forever to learn this. So I'm going to go really slow so everyone knows what I'm doing. But again, I'm only working with this side of the cord. This one, I'm just leaving it over here for now. Not worrying about it. So bring this cord over in like a P shape over that cord. And now take the tail of it. And you want to go underneath this cord. The blue one is my main. I'll call that the main cord. And now just pull. And it's a long cord, so it's going to take a little bit. And there's the first half of the knot. Really all you did was you looped the thread over it. What finishes the knot is this next part. Again, I'm going to make that P shape, but I'm going to bring it underneath the cord this time. So you remember the last time we made the P, we put the P over the cord. This time the P is under the cord. And I'm going to bring that tail back up, over the cord, under my loop. And there's one hitch knot done. That's what that looks like. I'm going to bring it up and see if it'll focus. There we go. How does that look? Everybody see the structure of that knot? That's all it is.
Yeah, it's pretty clear.
It's really similar to kind of what we were doing last week with the pendant. I think it's even the same knot exactly. It's just constructing it with one cord instead of having the advantage of bringing two up. So I'm going to do that a few more times so you guys can see what it looks like. Again, P shape over the cord. Bring that tail under this cord and bring it through. There's the first half. And so for the second half, go under it. Pull through that P shape. And then bring the tail over the main and under the loop. And there's our second knot. And the cool thing about this knot is you can move it around a little bit if you need to. You can make it tighter. You can spread the knots out to fill more space and see more of the cord underneath. Just whatever look you like. And again, that's P shape over the cord for the first part. Bring the tail under it. Pull it through. For the second half of that knot, we need to go under it. Pull it through. Oops, I'm hitting my box over there. And then there we go. There's the third one. I'm thinking I'll do that a couple more times, and then I have a sample that we can switch to. But I wanted to talk a little bit about how many times do I have to do this step. That depends on the size of your button. This is the button loop we're creating right now. And so what I do is I take my button, and keep in mind, you can scrunch this to make it smaller or stretch it out to make it bigger. So it's forgiving. When we get to the next step, if you feel like it's a little too short or a little too long, you can fix it. You get one last chance there. I'm going to find a button. Let's see. All right. It'll be here. A good rule of thumb for your button is you want to make it double the size. So I've got it at about 1 for 1 here. So I think I need 4 more of these, and I'll have the right height. So going over, and if anyone has any questions, please holler. Going under. I'm just going to do those 4 really quick.
Did I just spot a tiara cast button there?
You did. I just got those in. I'm excited about them.
Great.
They're really beautiful.
I cannot wait for I've never had any tiara casts in the shop, but we'll have a bunch in March. I'm very excited.
What are you getting?
The buttons, the bee honeycombs. Literally, there's way too many things, but Definitely a lot of their new collection. And then I like their hammer tone stuff also.
Well, that stuff is beautiful. Have you seen the Craftsman?
Which one's that?
It's the hammer tone toggle. Oops.
Oh, beautiful. I love all their toggles.
I don't know why it's called Craftsman, but I love it. I did something wrong there. Sorry, guys. I went under the wrong way. Under.
Brandy was asking if you're using the same size cord for both cords.
I am, yeah, but you don't have to. You can change it up. And I was going to show you guys later. I ran into another engineering challenge when I was creating my silk one. I really wanted to use these little gemstones, and I couldn't get it on the 6, so I switched to the 2. So my core is a 2, and my outside is a 6.
Oh.
And it looks gorgeous. It's ballet gorgeous.
Andrew was asking if you've ever done this with 0.5 millimeter leather, Danielle.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, these knots, the first time I ever actually figured these knots out, these knots were really hard for me. I had a friend who does beautiful macrame wall art with all her effort try to teach me. And it didn't go well, but we were playing with, with fibers, and I couldn't get my head around like which cord was which. And but then I tried it with leather, and it just clicked. The same exact knot I'm doing right now. Beautiful with leather. And you can use it as a spacer too. But I think I've got enough here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to unclip it. And I'm unclipping the bottom too. So removing my binder clip there. And what you have is this little section. Just kind of looks like that. Our main cords, bring those together. And this is a good chance to test your button. I may have made this one too small, but I'm gonna keep going. It might work. Actually, yeah, it's not too bad. But so there's the top. And I'm gonna need to secure that. So I keep little scraps of my cord around for exactly this purpose. I'm gonna go underneath. And I'm going to just clip this to the top underneath my clipboard. And then I'm going to take both of these cords, bring them down to the bottom. Now here's the reason why I made that other one the length of my board. It's just so I can do this and have it reach so that I can secure both of my ends. And so what I've done here is I've clipped those to the bottom, both cords together. And at the top here, I've just got those little hitch knots just hanging out. Those are going to become my button loop. We need to close this. So I'm going to take and start making square knots. And what a square knot looks like is it's P shapes, but now we're going to be working with both cords instead of just one. So I'm going to bring this one over like that. And I'm covering both of these cords. And then I'm going to come over. Now this is the cord on my other side, right? This one here. I'm bringing it over the top of this one. It's going over this one. Bring the tail underneath these two and up through the hoop. And there's one square knot. And see how it pulls it together tightly? And so with square knots, and if you don't want it to twist, if you want it to stay flat, you have to alternate the side that you make the P shape on every other time. And you'll develop an eye to see where the hat is. So right now my hat's over here. The hat is this part of the knot where there's kind of like a little loop going over. Or, the lark's head. Whatever analogy makes sense. It's something that you'll just get an eye for after a while, or you can just try to remember, hey, my last P was on this side, so I know I need to make my next one over here. And it's the same process in both sides, it's just a different chord. So with this one, I'm going to go over, go underneath, pull tight, I'm crossing, with the other side, making a P. Bringing this cord up, bringing this cord over, and put it underneath both of these cords and come up to that hoop over here. Okay, and then another side, P side. And do this about, well, depending on your design, but in the case of my design, I wanted to give enough of a section here to cover what I'm going to do next, which is I don't want to work on 2 cords indefinitely because I know I want to string beads onto the side that I have the needle on. So on the silk cord, my needle is on this one. And this one's just going to go away soon, but it needs somewhere to be secure. So what I've done here is it's been knotted through all these. It's not quite enough. I'm going to do 2 more. And this is where there's a slight difference between silk and knotting cord. With silk, using my burner, I don't feel like that's enough. It's great for making it precise. It's great for making it mushroom a little bit, but I still use glue if I'm playing with silk. With knotting cord, you don't have to glue. So what I'm going to do now is, when you're doing this at home with your silk, just double check that the one you cut is not the one your needle's on. So cut your short one. I've unclipped it from the bottom. This is my long one. And actually, see, I'm glad I checked that because my long one's actually over here. Most of the time I've been working, it's been this one, but so this is actually the one I need to cut. All right, cut that side. I'm going to burn this. If this was silk, I would put a dot of glue on it afterward. I would grab this and put glue right here, just on that cord. But this nylon cord, when you burn it, it's actually even better than glue. So I'm going to clip this again. This is my end here. And if this was silk, there'd be a needle on this end. I'm going to clip it one more time. And I'm going to start knotting. I'm going to do 2 more square knots so I can cover up what's left of that tail there that I burnt. Or glued, if that's what we're doing for the silk. Coming up through that one. And you can help it a little bit. If it's kind of poking up, that one, I want it to sit under my thread. There. I want it to disappear, so making a P shape on the other side, cord over, under, and through the hoop. All right, and I think that pretty much covers it. So now you'll want to grab some beads, and any beads will do, whatever you like to use. I don't know, I was kind of feeling like something this bright. Let's crystal it up.
Yes, crystals.
Yes. And I might need to do something here with my ends to get it through. I don't know if this is going to work, but it worked earlier. Knock on wood, right? I'm burning this to make it turn into a needle. And smoke is coming up. Okay, there we go. Yay. Worked. Boom. Okay, I'm going to do a few more. Let's have like 3 crystals on there. That would be cool. I don't know, I might do more, but we'll start with that. I'm clipping the bottom again. I strung them, I'm clipping the bottom. Move 2 down. Oops, I want that one on that side. There we go. Okay, so where's my hat? My hat's over here. And it's kind of, when you count these knots, you'll be able to see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 here. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. If you wanted to even that up, you could. I always just make sure I start on the same side. And so I'm going to add one more knot above my bead for symmetry. I'm a perfectionist like that. And bring that up. Hat's on this side. Start the P on this side. Start it under your bead. And then go under the cord, through the loop, and just gently here. This is a bead where I want to control where the cords sit. So here we go. Switching to the other side for that. Over and under. All right. And so that's it. That's all you got to do. And then this is just style and preference from here on out. How many square knots do you want to do in between each bead? It's totally up to you. And then you'll get quick also, or you can kind of start speed knotting, I guess. But because it's the same knot over and over, this whole thing you only need to learn 2 knots: hitch knot and a square knot. So yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm going to switch in a second to a sample that's already to the bottom so I can show you the button. How do I put a button on here, right? But before I switch, does anyone have any questions about this step?
We had one question from Cindy asking about hemp cord for this technique, or for learning this technique.
So, yeah, in fact, really beautiful macrame is done with hemp all the time. You see some gorgeous work on Instagram with hemp. I think it'd be gorgeous with hemp.
Awesome.
So I'm going to pull this, unless anyone has any questions about this one. What I would do there is what I just showed you guys over and over and over again until I reached a length that measured what I wanted it to be before the button. So about a ½ inch shy of what you want to wear your bracelet as. And let's see, with this one, what I was playing with earlier, that's what I did. I brought it to that point. So I'm going to grab some cord. And I'm going to just read it.
Questions I could throw at you, Danielle.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm going to just be setting up. So go ahead.
The first one was from Leonore, asking about using a bead loom.
Bead loom. You know what? I've never tried it, so I can't say it wouldn't work. It might work great, but I'm having trouble picturing how it would. I mean, unless you're just going to use it as like a tying station, kind of. It would, it could be used as a tying station. I think that might be okay.
And then Prudence was asking the cord type. So we're using what, Chinese knotting cord, essentially?
Yes. At the moment, I am using, it's 0.8 millimeter nylon cord.
Do you like to get it by the full 100-yard spools? I was just looking at those on the Johnbead site.
Oh, well, I have the greatest job in the world. And these are what I get to play with, so they're beautiful.
Do you know if they come in smaller lengths than the 100 yards rolls?
In this one, in the 0.8, I don't believe yet. But it is something that I think would be really interesting to get. But at the moment, I think the only 0.8 we have are on these. There is a lot of 1 millimeter, and that comes in different spool sizes.
Oh, cool.
And the 1 millimeter is gorgeous too.
Let's see. We do have a couple more questions if you're willing before we keep going. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm actually going to move my camera down a little bit because I want you guys to be able to see.
Gail was asking if we could see the cords, how the cords sat under the crystals on the first necklace, sorry, on the first bracelet.
Oh yeah, let me get that back. So it looked like that on the back. And there's the front. And there's the back again. It's really pretty. I like it. I'll finish that. They take a while. So for example, this one that I'm showing here, I'm using these thread spools as my way to raise my camera up. But so I've got it clipped here to the top. You know, I used another piece of cord, put it under the clipboard. And this is just, I kept knotting, just like I showed you guys, where you add a bead, do a series of square knots, add another bead, and you just keep going until you reach a length that works. That's about 1/2 inch less than you'd like your finished length to be. Putting the button on is going to add about 1/2 inch or so. So here's my button. I'm unclipping the bottom. Okay, bring your cord, and this is my main cord. My main cord is yellow here, and my knotting sides are blue. So bring your button on, and we're going to work unclipped for just a minute, but this is only for a second. What I want to do is I want to create a reinforced loop here. In order to do that, I need to catch it one time. So all I did is I brought that main cord through the button, and I'm just laying it across here. And now I'm looking for, my hat is on this side, so I know my P-loop's going to need to go this way. So this is my P-loop right here, and I'm just going to make a square knot. I'm going to square knot so that this piece joins itself. Here's this side. I'm going to go under all that and up through the loop here. So pulling tight. And this part, because it's unclipped, it can be a little tricky, but you only have to do this for just a second. And then we'll be able to clip it again. I'll show you how. Okay. So now I have a loop, but that's just one loop. And I don't feel like that's going to be strong enough. So then go ahead and take this end. This is the, the needle end, right? Pull it back up. And this time here at the bottom, I'm clipping it to the bottom of the clipboard. Not super tight, just enough that it stays in place. Okay, and now the hat is over here. P on this side. Which I guess doesn't make it a P anymore. I guess it becomes a Q. I don't know. The backwards P on that side. Going over and then under and through the loop. So just another square knot, right? Got it. I unclipped again. I'm going to go through the button one more time. Okay. Try to get it to go the same direction, if you can. And if not, don't sweat it. But one way to do it is just kind of, sometimes I use this as a weight and just put some weight on it, keeping it in place. Hats on this side, putting the P on this side. And under everything, and then through the loop. Okay, so now I have what I want. I've got 2 of these cords going through my button. One of them is a little looser than the other. I'm going to tighten it up a little bit. And now they match. And so the next thing I want to do is just do a bunch of square knots. Not right up into the point where you're like right here. So I'm just going to do that really quick. See, this is a lot easier to see on this cord. When you're doing it with the silk, you have one advantage though. And I'll show you when we switch to silk. You get to use a needle for the part I'm doing right now. And that helps a lot. Even though I kind of made a needle with this one, I didn't do that with these. I should have maybe burnt the ends. So there's one. I'm probably going to need at least 3 square knots to get up to where I want to be. That was one. There's the P on this side. crossing over it, going under everything, and up through it. Now, if all of this adding a button and doing a button loop, if that is stressful in any way, there are other ways to end macrame that are a lot easier. And if we get time at the end, I'll just quickly show a sample. But I wanted to share this button closure because I get asked about it a lot. I don't think it's really that complicated. And since this is going to be available as a replay, you guys can see, you know, if you get stuck on something, you can pause it. All right. And so there I am. I'm at the top. So there's a couple things you can do here. If you have a big button and you feel like just going to town, making this really secure, you can go through with these now. These are the knotting sides. You can bring those through. But if you didn't have a button that you could do this with, at this point, you could just trim, burn, or glue. And how that looks is you just trim it, grab the burner. Just going to burn that end a little bit. There we go. And if this was silk, I would glue that as well. Trim the side and glue it. Or I'm going to show you just an extra little thing you can do if you want to. From here on out, it's optional though. But extra strength here to bring those through. And now what do you do with them? A couple of things. I'm going to unclip from the top and get my bracelet free. If I can. I think I got it stuck under the clipboard here. There we go. Okay. That free. If anyone's ever heard of a silk wrap, I'm just going to quickly show it. I'm using one side to become a little loop, just pinching it really quick, and taking the other side and just going around once. You'll need to turn your button a little bit, twice, 3, maybe 4 times. Go through the loop, go through it once, go back through it again to make a knot. Kind of hold that in place for a second. Grab this other one and pull. And what that does is it creates kind of a little loop like that. See, my focus isn't great, but the reflection's making it a little harder to see. I have a muted button I can show you. Here's a more muted one. It looks like that. That step's optional. You don't have to do it. If you like it, go for it. If you don't, just burn it off at that step and glue. But here I'm just going to trim. Burn. This part's really fun. Flattening it right when it's still hot. Where's the other side? And it won't burn you.
Do you find that it then sticks to itself once you burn it a little bit?
A little bit. I flatten it down also on top of the cords next to it. I don't know how much that makes it stick. I've never had one come apart on me. If I was going to sell it and I was extra nervous about it, I might add more glue. But for example, I've been wearing, what's it called? I've been wearing this one and nothing happened. All I did was burn it. So you can see my little burnt end right there. And I've just been wearing this around and it's been fine. And yeah, no glue at all on that one. But then, I say that and you just never know. So of course you can add security if you want to go ahead and burn it. All right, so that's what it looks like on a really big cord that's easy to see. Switching to the other type of cord. So I have a sample ready to go. But does anyone want to see, we're at 340. I could finish this sample here, or I can show starting a silk one. I don't know, Sam, what do you think? Do you think starting a new silk one makes sense? So
it would be cool to see just you starting once more because it didn't take too long, and then
no,
you
it was
switch
pretty quick.
over.
Yeah, so I'm going to free my clipboard here really quick. And I'm raising up my camera. All right.
Did you see Stacy's comment?
Oh, no, I didn't. Like better. Oh, yeah, you need 3 hands. It's so adding the button part's tricky. And, you know, you could always just take your beautiful piece and just do one of these square knots on it. How's my focus doing? Not super great there. That color's hard to see, but I know you guys have all seen these kind of adjustable knots. That's, you know, macrame 101, easiest thing to do. If you really don't feel the button, I don't blame you. There's one thing you could try. But so starting with a silk card, and what will happen when you use a silk card? You'll unroll 2 of them, and you'll have a lot left over on the one you decide to be the main. You'll have enough left to do another bracelet at least. But on the one you used to do the knotting, we're going to go through all of it. This one's going to be my main. So I'm going to take this end, and I'm going to clip it to the bottom of the clipboard. And so all of this is going to look super familiar. It's going to be exactly the same, except for it's going to be tiny and more finicky, but very beautiful. And so it's clipped to the bottom, running it up to the top. And I'm going to just clip it under. And this is the super long end. This is the end with our needle on it. And I tend to prefer that to be on the right. So what I'm doing here is just clipping it underneath. There we go. And I'm going to clip both at the bottom now. If you have 2 binder clips, that's even better. But I've been clipping mine together. So there's my short end. And this is my super long end with a needle on it. I'm trying not to hit my camera. There we go. All right, so clipped at the bottom there. Just a loop under there. One of the ends is really long, one of them short. And now I have another card that I unrolled. I'm going to work with this gray color so it can stand out against the blue. I found the midpoint just by bringing them together here at the end. So there's my needle and the free end. And so there's a trick I wanted to share for if you always want the side that you're going to need to be bringing under the cords repeatedly. If you'd like that to be your needle side, have it go through this direction. This is my main. Oh, and actually, I was going to share that if it's confusing to have those both there, I think what I did with the knotting cord is actually push this one aside. We need it later when we bring the buttonhole together. That's why this one is the length of the board, but at the moment it doesn't have to be there. So I forgot to get that out of the way. Okay, can you guys see the top of my clipboard? You can, okay. So bringing the needle side under the main and just pull to the midpoint. And then if you want to, optionally, you can give yourself a little more working room with the needle side. So that's this side, the needle side is this side. And what I did earlier is I measured like 4 inches, or you could just say the length of your clipboard, bring it over. Because we're going to use this side to make those hitch knots, so we're going to use more of this side than that side. And if you want your cords to be an even length, it's helpful, but not required. Again, if it comes down to just getting started, don't worry about it. You'll probably still have enough. And so for now, we're going to ignore this side. Just throwing it up there with that other end. And start making hitch knots. So Same thing as before, we're going to make a P by crossing this one over that one. And then go underneath the main cord. Super handy to have that needle. And you can also prop up the thread with like a, like a seed bead spool or something, if that helps you. So on the way back, we're going to go under first. And so that's how the hitch knot works. The first part you're over and then under, and the second part you're under and then over. So there's under. And then here's going over it and through the loop. And so you get your first hat knot there. And what I found with this design was it took about, for the size of that button that I was using, and that button was a little flower button, I needed about 18 of those little hats, roughly. But remember that you can stretch it. You can move it around and you can stretch it if you want to. So just play with it and see. The worst case is you'd have to put it back on the board and add a few more or take a few off. But this is really forgiving and easy to do. If you have some tweezers handy, like we used for the last classes, those are great for getting out your macrame knots. If you get one in there that you feel like you need to change. So I think I'll do a few more of these if anyone wants to see making these. I could even try to get it to the point where we can bring them together. And then I have another sample where I can show you the button.
That sounds perfect.
Great. So if anyone has any questions about this hitch knot, let me know. I'm going a little faster than I did before. Just heading over the knot, over the main cord, under the main cord, and through. And now I'm going to go under and over. So there's under. And over. And catch a few bracelets while I'm at it.
Karen, we're using number 6 silk cord here. And this is the Johnbead silk cord that's available. You can find it from Sam's Bead Shop. Or at samsbeadshop.com in the tools section. They come in these little cards with the needles already attached, and they're pretty affordable.
I discovered a really pretty color combo earlier.
Ooh, what's that?
The ballet pink with the dark navy blue on tourmaline.
Oh my gosh, you have to show us that.
That's the finishing sample that's coming up.
Sweet.
And it just looks like vintage ballet to me. That's like the first thought I had was like old ballet shoes.
Do you have a hidden dance background, Danielle?
Nothing in the realm of like recruitable talent, but I did dance throughout, from elementary school till college.
Oh my goodness.
I think we click, Sam, because I was in show choir and musical theater, and so not quite in the league of the stuff that you guys are doing in the Tuesdays, but still the same vibe, right?
Oh my goodness, this makes sense now.
It does. I don't know if you ever heard of, this is really, really, really long time ago, but have you ever heard of showstoppers?
You mean like the concept of a showstopper?
No, the competition?
No. Did I just date myself?
No, I probably just dated myself because I don't even know if they still do it anymore. But back in the day, when I was in high school show choir, we got to compete, and we won in California, so they flew us to Florida, and we got to compete at Disney World.
Oh my gosh.
That was like my proud moment. I thought it was the coolest thing.
I love that.
I got to sing in Pocahontas Theater.
Oh, that was the name of the theater at Disney World?
I don't think it's called that anymore, but that's what it was at the time. And then as part of a bonus, like all of my friends in the choir, we got to spend 4 days at Disney World and Epcot Center. In high school, that's magic.
That sounds like an ideal choir trip.
It really was.
We did a choir tour. We were part of, like, the choir was part of a concert at Carnegie. It was like, I mean, it was just like they invited like a bajillion choirs to come sing all together at Carnegie. And it was 100% a pay to sing, so like not actually that cool, but we did it, and we got to spend like a whole week in New York, just away from school. And I remember that's probably the most memorable week of high school.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. I can't say I've ever been there. It's really cool.
You've never been out to New York?
No, nope. I've never traveled out that way. Isn't that crazy?
My goodness.
I gotta go someday.
Absolutely.
It's on my bucket list, that's for sure. So I didn't quite make as much knots as I could have, but I made enough that I can pull it together and show you guys this next step. You know, and it kind of, just imagine if you had more of it. But this will actually work to become, like, if I wanted to use a bead as a button, that might actually be perfect size for that. So I'm going to go with it. Grabbing one of my spare cords. Go under. And then just going to clip that under the top here. And so these are the main cords, and we want to connect them, right? One of them short, and the other one is that long one with my needle on it. Clipping both to the bottom. I'm clipping them both to the bottom together at the bottom of the clipboard. And like if you're using a pin board, that's totally fine. That will work great too. So there's that. To join it, just go ahead and choose a side. If you want your needle to be the one that goes underneath, is the one you're maneuvering with, start with this side, because this side does not have the needle. And this means that all of the ones we're working from here on out will have the advantage of using our needle for. So this is this first square knot. I made a P, or a backwards P, that goes over the cords with this side. And I'm bringing down this side over that cord, and I'm going to use this needle to go under it. Super easy. Okay, there's one. And this is that part where you just keep going. But see, still have the needle. So it's intricate. It takes a long time. I think one of these bracelets takes me an hour and a half at least to make. But it's really beautiful when it's done. Let's see. So we're pretty tight on time there. But what I would do here is I would keep going for at least, with the silk, make at least 8 square knots. And, you know, I only showed this once with the knotting cords. I think I'll make an effort to show it again, but this is how we end, how we terminate the short cord. So I keep going. There's the needle here. I've got 6 there. I want to put 2 more on. I don't know where I came up with the number 8, but it was just an arbitrary thing of how many knots do I think gives enough security to this silk here. But you can always do less or more. You know, and we're going to glue, so like if you wanted to get a bead going a lot closer to your buttonhole than, you know, than being as far away as this, you could. But so here's what the next step is. You need to come down here, unclip. Figure out which one's got your needle. For me, that's this one. Don't cut that one. Set it aside. We need to cut this one. I'm just going to trim it right there. Okay, and my process for the silk, same as before. I do kind of burn it a little bit. And it gets really stinky, and it really gums up the burner, but you can clean it later. Flatten it, and then I'm going to put glue on top of it. Just a little bit of glue. by some magic, I haven't gotten this on my clipboard yet. Knock on wood. Okay. I'm clipping this again to the bottom. This is my long strand. It has the needle on it at the end. And the last hat I had was over right there. You see my hat? So my P needs to start on this side. Go under. And so this is where having the silk versus the knotting cord can be kind of a cool advantage, is I now have the option of putting any bead I want on here, and it'll probably fit. So all the cute little check glass beads that I've got and gemstone beads are suddenly all fair game for this design. And I think that is why it's why it makes it worth it to work with the silk, because macrame silk can be a little bit, I don't know, I really enjoy the process with the knotting cords so much that when I switch to the silk, I just find it a little harder. And what I'm doing here, you see me kind of pinching it and getting perfection about it. What I'm doing is I'm lifting these cords over the last little part of that glued up burnt thread and making sure it sits right in between them so that it looks really pretty. Needle under, and there we go. Okay, so here's what would happen next. You would just start adding beads. So you would unclip here, and you would add a bunch of beads onto it, and then just start doing square knots around each one. At your discretion, how many spaces to put in there. And so I'm moving that one out. I'm bringing this one in. So I've got a little bit to unravel, but what you're seeing here is an almost done one. I'll start here. And my main cord is this navy blue. It looks almost black in this light, but it's the navy. And this is that gorgeous pink color, that like antique, shabby chic pink. That's tourmaline. That's on there. Not just the coolest look ever. I think it's my new favorite bracelet.
I love it.
It's just gorgeous.
The subtle pink is so nice with the occasional pink in the tourmaline.
It just all kind of pulled it together. I was excited about that. And I'm going to figure out which side my needle's on. So I know my needle side is this side. You won't have to do this when you're working at home. The reason I have to is because I'm switching between projects on the board. So here I'm just using this to secure my loop at the top. Just a scrap of thread that I had around underneath. All right, clipping this to the bottom. Or I was about to clip this to the bottom, but okay, now I'm going to need to move you guys up a little bit. So there's the top. Let's travel down, travel down. Here's the bottom. Okay. Here's what I need to do. I need to get a button on here. And I have these little gorgeous ones floating around. Stuff in here. This is the best part of the silk. That becomes an option. I couldn't have gotten the knotting. Well, I was able to get the knotting cord through here, but I did something tricky. I only have it through one time. So this one is for me, but yeah, so far it's actually been really great. But with this silk, we'll be able to get through this button more than once. It makes it a lot more secure. So there we go, button through. And I realize I'm going over. Are you okay with that, Sam? I just realized it's already 4.
No, if you're good to see, keep going. I'm all good.
We just demoed this with the knotting cord, but not with the silk. So but if anyone needs to go, that's totally fine. So I just crossed it over and looking to see which side my knot is on. And so what we did before is we just made a series of, well, we started with 1. This is just a square knot. So there's the P on this side. I'm going over that cord and then under everything and through the loop. And so what that does is it secures it, gives me the chance to maneuver it a little bit. Now it's tight. I'm going to go through the button again. Everybody see that okay? I know it's jumping around a little bit. Okay. So the silk is going to be a little more finicky, but it's going to work. Just have to pull this down. There we go. So the goal being, and it was a lot easier to see on the last sample, but the goal is to get 2 strands worth of cord through the button, and then you just square stitch on top of them. And demoing it with the silk, I'm finding, is a lot harder to do with the camera there, but here we go. All right, finally. So now I'm just going to lay that, just like we did before, just laying it there. The hat is on this side now. So I'm going to make that side the P. Cross over. And go under everything. And through that loop. And so earlier today when I was working on one of these, I just took some time to take a bunch of photos. So, and it's my hope to do it sooner rather than later, but get this all documented for you guys so that you don't, have to watch the whole video again to catch one little part that maybe you wanted to go over or see. But yeah, so this is the same thing before. Just doing some square knots, and I'm going to keep doing them all the way up until I reach the button. And then I'll either go through both directions and do one of those silk wraps or burn it. So, and that's probably just so much harder to see than the last one. So I would recommend watching that part that I did with the cord. And then I'm definitely going to get those photos into a document pretty soon. So I'm gonna switch back and does anyone have any questions while I'm here on the mat? I know I've gone over.
Yeah, we'll give people a second to type in questions because I know there's like a 10-second delay. In the meantime, I did want to say while we're on camera, actually I'll switch, see if I can see both of us. There we go. That the monthly bead box that I've been kind of hinting at in the main group is going to be launching tomorrow. So I just wanted to let people know while we're still on the call. So there's only a limited number of subscriptions. So you definitely, if you want one, be in the group tomorrow at, I think it's 10 a.m. is when I'll post the info to grab one. I can try to have I tried to have a photo ready. Let's see if this works. There we go. This is, can you see this, Danielle?
I see it, yes.
This is the palette for March. Usually it'll be a surprise, but I want to show what the March one will be. It's all light blues and greens. I'm very excited. So definitely if you want one of these, be at the group tomorrow at 10 a.m. before the New Bead Sunday, which is at 11 a.m. I'm very excited for this box. Alrighty, that's that. All right, let's see if we have any questions. Actually, don't see any questions, Danielle, so far.
Oh, wow.
People are good.
That's awesome.
Okay, cool. Awesome. Well then, with that being the case, I think we can end it there. Sweet. At some point, I want to learn the sliding knot that you showed on the bracelet.
Oh, this one. Yeah, so all that really is just a bunch of square knots.
With the cord coming.
With all both sides going through. Yeah.
Interesting. I don't fully visualize it yet, but I like the look of that.
Yeah, it's a really easy way to end a piece because you can just tighten it.
Yeah, and it's adjustable. I like that.
Yeah.
Super cool. Yeah, Cindy, it's 10 a.m. tomorrow. Alrighty, thank you all so much for tuning in today. I hope you learned a lot, and I hope you've learned a lot in all these classes with Danielle. We've covered bracelets and necklaces and working with hemp and now the macrame. So huge thank you to you, Danielle, for all your generosity.
Thanks so much. I've had a lot of fun, so it's been really great.
Yay. Oh, I'm so glad. It's been so fun to do this with you.
Same here.
Alrighty, I think it's time to end naughty February already.
But February is ending on an awesome note, and now we all have the greatest macrame bracelet store. So
heck yeah, love it. Yeah. Alrighty, signing off. Bye everyone. Thank you, Danielle.
Bye everybody.